this computer.
It's recording.
So, hi everyone. Welcome to Chatting with Cecilia and Agnes, which is a new weekly podcast we're doing to talk about associations and business and how to make the world a better place. My
Mhm.
name is Cecilia Sepp. I am the founder and owner of Rogue Tulips LLC, which is a consulting consortium supporting 501c organizations through consulting services and association management. I'm also the founder of the 501c League, a virtual membership organization for anyone who works in 501c organizations in any capacity and the people who love them. And I'm here today with my good friend and partner, Agnes. Agnes, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Cecilia. My name is Agnes Amos Coleman, and I actually wear a couple of hats as well. I'm an author, a consultant with Rogue Tulip, and a member of 501c Association and the Mentoring Network.
Yes, Agnes is one of our mentors, and that program's been very popular. It's been a little slow lately, and we're getting back on that. So, but today, Agnes mentioned she's an author, and today for our first episode of Chatting with Cecilia and Agnes, we're talking about her book, Transforming Business with Godly Governance. The book talks about 9 characteristics, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about the first 3 characteristics, which are Agnes. Love, joy, and peace.
Love, joy, and peace. That's correct, Cecilia.
And how can we apply love, joy, and peace in the workplace and transform business?
You know, Cecilia, you and I have talked about this. Love is one of those action words that people don't often connect with the business environment, but it's still very relevant when you think about it. And so is joy and peace. And in a nutshell, without really going into a lot of details, we can apply love in our workplace by offering words of encouragement to our peers that we work with, to our colleagues, to our business partners, and that's a good way to kind of build each other up and support one another. The other way that we can apply love in our workplace is actually just, doing what we do with a very positive attitude and trying to see the best in others. That way, what it does is that it encourages collaboration and really creates that, you know, uh, engagement with various stakeholders that we work with.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to joy, a practical way to apply joy in our workplace will be demonstrating value and trust within our teams. I think that that's very key to any business processes that we're involved in. And looking at being open and dealing with our differences and disagreements in a very collaborative way. What that creates not only for our peers and our colleagues that we work with, but ourselves, is that it creates that atmosphere of joy that we can really do our best. And think about celebrating the success of others and our own. I think that that's something to joyfully do, not only for us, but for others as well. And that kind of builds that collaboration and successful stakeholder engagement. So let's look at peace. An example of creating peace in our workplace is our ability to actually communicate effectively with each other, and improving, information sharing. Because when we do that, what that does is that we don't have that thought about hidden agenda. We know that we're openly communicating with one another. We don't have a hidden agenda. Everybody's engaged in collective responsibility and performance delivery. So that way, you know that uh, you can trust each other within the work environment or the business environment. And what the outcome of that really is that it promotes peace, it promotes joy, and it promotes love. Over to you, Cecilia.
Oh, great. Thanks, Agnes. That was a great summary of those internal characteristics. And how can we apply that? You and I are consultants, so how can we apply peace, joy, and love to working with our clients as well as outside of our own network in our own organizations?
A lot of it is, the love, joy, and peace with our clients is going to, it actually relates to building the stakeholder engagement. Think about it, Cecilia. When you have all this foundation of, offering words of encouragement, working, building, demonstrating value and trust, ability to communicate effectively well with each other, these are the key elements that we need as consultants, either working with our clients or our clients working with us. If we're able to demonstrate these attributes in ourselves, we effectively help our clients be better at what they do, and they help us be better people as well. So everybody wins. And we taking that first step as consultants, I think it's a good step in really building that stakeholder engagement with our clients, applying this peace, joy, and love characteristics.
And so, as people, you and I have talked about this a lot over the years since we've met. And so, how do you deal with people who don't support the concept of peace, joy, and love in an organization environment? So how do you just love them more, or how can we do that? Like, if we want to have peace, joy, and love in our lives,
Yes.
work, and at home, I mean, how do we deal with people who seem like they don't want peace, joy, and love?
Well, and really, that's really the premise of the book. It's not them versus us. It's you and I who make the business environment, and we're the game changers. We're the champions. So if people don't want it, we have to be those champions. We have to be the game changers. Every person makes a difference. You and I can make that difference. And I can guarantee you that as you and I make that difference, if we take that first step in loving and showing joy and showing peace to either our clients, our peers, our internal, external relationships, it will catch on. But it takes one person at a time. And yes, we can make the difference. You and I can transform the business environment one person at a time.
And we talk a lot today about culture and culture change and cultural transformation, and transformation is what your book is about.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this affect culture? Now, obviously anybody who might be out there listening, and you and I are going to say, well, of course it's going to affect the culture, because if you're slowly trying to make it a warmer, more caring place. But how does this actually kind of get that culture wave shifting in a different direction?
I think what it does is that it creates an atmosphere of respect. I think, and that's really the foundation here. Applying the love, joy, and peace to the culture is that it creates that culture that you respect me, I respect you in the business environment. It also creates transparency, and that really it's a game changer when it comes to culture change. And it creates responsible governance when you think about it, because you are intentionally displaying the characteristics of love, joy, and peace in the business environment that is saying to you and my peers and everybody involved that I respect you, I want to collaborate with you, and I believe that you matter in the business environment, and I care for your well-being. I think that's profound when you think about it. And those are intentional choices that you and I can definitely transform our business environment with one person at a time.
Well, and you just listening to that made me remember a Shakespeare quote about suffering the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this happens to all of us. That things don't go well, and sometimes they don't go well for a very long time, like seems like one thing after another, but you're trying to cling to these good characteristics like love, peace, and joy. What advice might you have for people when you're kind of getting into those dark areas, where you're feeling kind of low or despairing, or the dogs are growling in the back? But what advice might you have for someone who's trying to live these traits and these characteristics when things aren't going their way, and it's hard to keep your chin up?
Yes. Well, I have one advice: never give up. Even when you're discouraged and you feel like you're not, people are not buying along with this. Believe me, people are watching you. They might not show that they're buying into your concept, But so never give up. They're watching how you react. They're watching, the strength of character that comes out of, out of your personality as an individual in the business environment. So keep at it, one person at a time, one step at a time, one act of kindness at a time, one word of encouragement at a time. And just keep at it, never give up. And you will reap what you sow, really. And it might take time. I mean, look at it. When we talk about reaping and sowing, when we plant corn, it doesn't come out overnight, does it? It takes time. It takes that watering of the corn. It takes that, nurturing of the soil. And that's really where we need to be when we're, applying a lot of those concepts into our workplace. It's just the ability to be patient and not give up. I'm not always a very patient person, but I often have to remind myself as well that, you must never give up. People are watching your lifestyle. They're watching how you react. And that's the only advice that I could give. And I know that it does produce results, because I've heard people say, oh, wow, we were kind of surprised with your reaction there. You didn't react the way you should have reacted. I'm like, well, if only you knew how I wanted to react. But
oh, really?
yeah.
Like, how many times have we been
Exactly, but I intentionally chose not to be negative. I intentionally chose to, to react in a better way. I intentionally chose to be joyful. I intentionally chose to be peaceful, and I intentionally chose to show love. It doesn't always come easy, but you just make this intentional choices.
Yeah. So, and just keep trying to keep going along
Along,
with it.
yes.
So let's have one more question about these three characteristics, which I think are probably three of the most important characteristics in the world, in my opinion: peace, joy, and love. We all say we want them. We all say we're looking for them. Marie Kondo's built a whole empire of decluttering your house by does it spark joy or not.
Yeah.
And I think joy is probably driven by love and peace. It
Mm-hmm.
makes me feel good. But how does doing this sort of intentional implementation of your book ideas, from transforming governance or transforming business, how does peace, joy, and love affect the bottom line?
It absolutely does. When you think about it, clients, businesses, individuals, organizations are looking for stakeholders. And when I say stakeholders, whether it be it internally or external stakeholders, who are willing to, care for each other's well-being, because they want to have successful business. I mean, there's this big buzz in the business world, and not so much anymore, but about social responsibility. And you find that clients or businesses want to do businesses with people who are socially responsible. And part of social responsibility is that foundation of having a culture that cares not only for your stakeholders, but also care for people who do business with you. And that's why love, joy, and peace makes a lot of good business sense. Because if your employers, individuals, consultants, businesses are happy, they have joy, they have love, they give peace, then it will permeate and it will help other businesses want to also give it back. And that creates a better bottom line. The people's health are not as impacted. People want to come to work. They want to be part of that business environment because they have all this, characteristics that's flourishing in them. And that's good business. Even think about it from a healthcare perspective alone. You don't have as much people saying, I don't want to go to work today because I'm just so unhappy. I have nuts in my stomach. They know they want to come to work because their atmosphere at work is peaceful. It's joyful. It permeates love. That alone, creates high productivity within your business environment, not having people call off all the time sick because they just don't feel like they're very happy in their business environment.
And so you have better performance, you have better outcomes, you have
Absolutely.
less sick days, you have less employee turnover.
Absolutely.
So peace, joy, and love are not just things to say at Christmas time, folks. Peace, joy, and love are good for the bottom line. They're good for staff retention. They're good for culture.
That's correct.
So take Agnes's advice and be intentional about choosing to do these things, no matter how crazy somebody might be. So, well, thanks for joining us for our first episode of Chatting with Agnes and Cecilia. Agnes's book, Transforming Business with Godly Governance, is available exclusively at Amazon.com in both Kindle and hard copy. You can get a hard copy like me, or you can get it on your Kindle and carry it around and read it whenever you have time. The book also has self-assessments in it. You can take a self-assessment to see where you are in implementing some of these ideas that Agnes has laid out for all of us. And future webisodes of our podcasts will include the other 6 characteristics. There are 9, folks, so stay tuned for part 2 of Transforming Business. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Cecilia.